forward, I wouldn't even say electric mobility, I would say electrification of transportation. And the reason I would like to call it electrification of transportation is because we're already fast moving towards that path, not by just electric rickshaws, which all of us know about, but the fact of the matter is that Delhi Metro is also electrified transportation. Yeah. And it's carrying about, I think, 1.3 million passengers a day, and that's massive. If you look at the whole mix of transportation in an urban context, you got the buses, you got the cars, you got the public transportation, the last mile connectivity, and then you also got NMT, the non-motorized transportation, and then finally you have the mass transportation. Out of all of these, obviously we're not concerned about the non-motorized transportation because that's anyway quite efficient. It's an issue of transportation by private vehicles and the public buses, which is the mass transportation. The metro anyway is doing its role by very rapidly electrifying the transportation in an urban context. If you look at cars again, the rate at which we are able to bring down the price by 1/10 and increase the range 10 times over, which will eventually happen, pretty soon gasoline-based transportation will be obsolete by choice, not by subsidy, not by diktat, not by fiat, but by choice. Nobody can stop that march of technology to happen. The same is going to happen with buses also. But buses is going to take up a path which will be much faster than what private vehicles will be doing, because as a government, the government has responsibility to clean up the air, and many of the rich municipalities, including New Delhi Municipal Corporation and some of the other municipalities that we're working with, is not concerned about the cost per se of a bus, but the overall cost of running a bus, the total cost of ownership of a bus, which includes the health impact, which includes the impact on the economy because you're consuming more diesel and you're buying more oil and you're refining more oil. If you look at just the economics of oil, for a very long time, India has been a net exporter of refined oil. And we have had the largest refineries in the world. We continue to have the largest refineries of the world, including the famous Jamnagar refinery, the SR ones, which has now got sold out to Rosneft of Russia. But we are still the net exporter of oil. In the next 4 to 5 years, we expect that we'll stop being the net exporter of refined oil. We are going to end up consuming all the extra capacity that we have. And the largest consumer of oil is transportation. The second largest obviously is telecom, but the largest is transportation. Now, how do we reduce that? The only way, an obvious way of reducing the dependence of the country on oil is by a rapid electrification of the transportation. But would it help if we rapidly electrify the urban transportation? The answer is actually a big no. It's a minuscule portion of the oil that we're consuming. If you look at the national highways, they constitute 2% of the total roads in this country. Any guesses how much of traffic flows on this 2% of the total roads? Any guesses? On this 2% of the total roads that this country has, which is called the national highways, how much of traffic flows through this? It's 40% of the total traffic. 40% of the traffic is pumped through these 2% of highways. So as a next step, as a baby step, can we at least start making these highways as electrified? Now, if we say that these highways will be electrified, does it mean that we have battery-operated trucks? Well, the load of the battery will be more than the load that the truck is carrying. So obviously, from a technological limitation, we can't have battery-operated trucks of any value operating in the near future. Once technology changes, if at all it changes, we can possibly look at that. In the meanwhile, can we look at trucks which are operating with an overhead wire, pretty much like what the trams used to be? Can we have one dedicated lane operating on the highways wherein all the trucks feed off these overhead wires and they start running between Delhi and Mumbai using these wires? It's a win-win situation for both the trucking company and the country and the citizens from multiple perspectives. Pollution reducing dramatically, our oil import bill coming down dramatically, our foreign exchange and balance of payment improving dramatically, and most importantly, us ending up being a leader in a certain area. Once you become a leader in that area, you can start exporting that technology to many other places, which is, Mustafa, the point that you are making, that we bought these electric rickshaws, but we have not leveraged it from a commercial perspective. The technology is a new oil in that sense, and we have not really leveraged that. That would lead to many new technological models coming through this kind of an intervention. And in fact, there were models of storage not just being a battery storage being even water being pumped up and used to store energy, and it can be brought back, which is still the cheapest form of energy storage. So there can be many kind of technological models that will be coming out of this. The trucks can say, I'm now going over here and I'm going to consume so much of power, and telling it back to the grid, and the grid can therefore start figuring out how much of power to allocate to that part of the grid. All of those changes will start happening. In fact, there was a lot of talk on the IoT, which is exactly what will start playing once we start having this kind of a transition in terms of transportation. The key part that's actually happening is that we were earlier living in three different universes. The universe of the physical, the universe of the cyber, which was a recent phenomena, and the universe of the energy. IoT is ending up being a bond between these three. So now the physical world seamlessly connects with the cyber world, which in turn is seamlessly connecting with the energy world. And the three communicating with each other enables us to do all of these innovations that we're talking about. So as an example, if everybody is sitting here and we've got sensors on the chair or whatever kind of sensors we can have, we will know how many people are sitting in this room, and therefore by how much more the room will get heated up by so many people sitting here, and I can inform that to the power grid utility. And therefore the power grid utility will be able to deliver power in a more appropriate manner, which is exactly what will happen by the transportation that you'll be using, because they'll be able to tell that that's the amount of energy they will need, and so on and so forth. Now that kind of a technology model is going to lead to many new business models that will be coming up. Some of them we just discussed about what the Soda Village is doing and what Nepal is doing, and so on and so forth. And those are small business models that are coming up. There'll be significantly disruptive business models that will come up because of the electrification of transportation and everything else that my co-panelist very articulately talked about. Because of these new business models, there will be new operational models that has to be looked at. I'll not go into the details of that because I'll end up spending too much of time, but what I'm essentially driving at is that because of these three pieces, we would start to need new regulatory models. Especially because we'll start having new kinds of utilities, storage being a utility. We used to have a Genco, a Transco, and a Disco. Now there will be a Storeco coming up, which will be starting to store electricity and give it out. We can't have any of this in a vacuum. We would need regulatory support to enable all of this to happen, including the transition to a completely electrified transportation system, both in a long distance, intercity situation, and in an urban local body, local system kind of a situation. And that's what's going to really bring in the transformation that we're looking forth. At the end, all I want to say is amplify what Mustafa is saying. While this journey is happening, it'll be unfortunate that we start importing those technologies from a Scania in Sweden or from any other places. And they're all very nice companies, but in order to have an impact in terms of jobs, in terms of the ability to innovate further on those platforms, we need to start creating those technologies over here.